Hey, what is up guys, it's your boy Toy here. Today we will be talking about Glavier and my raid build. There are some things that I want to emphasize on, but one thing I do not want to do is take up everybody's time, so the link is down into the description onto the build. Check that one out. The things I will elaborate on: what engravings do you use, what rotations do you use, what do you need to look out for when you're building. So let's start off with the very basics. You have an identity skill that allows you to swap weapons between a red stance and a blue stance. The moment you hit some of your skills, this bar will fill up. And if you are using Pinnacle, if you get to 3 bars, swap the weapon, you get yourself a buff. A big side note is, if you get anything other than 3 bars, you will not get the full buff with the critical rate or the critical damage increase. To increase this bar, you need specialization. The more specialization you have, the less skill it takes for you to fill it up completely. And since the class has a lot of built-in crit, instead you should be going for swiftness. One double-edged sword to this build would be final decision, and the reason why this is nasty is because it consumes part of your bar. This is also very important unto the later parts of your rotation. And to show you part of the rotation, it would look somewhat like this. But as you guys can see, it consumes part of the bar, and this comes with a problem currently. So let's look at the problem at hand. If I do the rotation, I now don't even have full bar onto all of my skills. You can simply say, why don't you do wing cutting? Well, the bigger problem that I find within this build is that I don't have enough mana to even do this skill. But if I add about 1150 specialization, this also becomes a problem of the past. Full bar. So if you don't have the specialization that this build requires, then one thing that you could do is take either the half moon slash or the chain slash onto a different tripod, and that will be okay too. But now the most important part, skill rotations. Let's take a look. Red Dragon's Horn, and jump into the nuts, professional vasectomy, and then we got full bar. And now the very first skill that we do is Shackling Blue Dragon. Reason why is critical resistance down. And if you just pop your awakening skill after that, there's a lot of crits involved. Obviously, for those of you who know that skill isn't always up, using your other skills in accordance would be quite interesting. Although we have another problem, Shackling Blue Dragon. Let me elaborate on that once again. So let's do a full rotation. Red Dragon's Horn, we do this stab, Shackling Blue Dragon, wheel, tornado, dragons, and now we have a problem. Cooldowns, get more gems, get more swiftness if you can. This one, that one. Now Thrust of Destruction is down, and now once again Shackling Blue Dragon has a cooldown. This needs a fix. If this isn't fixed, you will lower your damage quite significantly because the critical resistance isn't up 100% at the time. To fix this, you could get more swiftness. However, this isn't necessarily the solution because more specialization also means more damage. But the most important thing would be Shackling Blue Dragon Gem. Get this one up to level 10. Is 20% cooldown reduction, which is really good. And the other best factor would be this Quick Prep Tripod skill. Get this on to level 3 or level 4. It will definitely decrease your cooldown significantly. But if cooldowns weren't an issue, this is what the rotations would look like. Starfall Pounce, Thrust of Destruction, Change, critical resistance down, wheel, tornadoes, swings. There we go. Red Dragon Horn, and look at my pretty blue bar, ladies and gentlemen. It is getting down to a T, which means that on a full rotation, I cannot maintain this. Now there's a fix to this. War Dancer on the new buff will give everybody some mana as far as I'm aware. Paladin has the same stuff, and there's probably more characters that have the ability to help you with this. However, one thing that you need to be able to do is get at least 1150 specialization, because otherwise you will be having to do more skills than you require, meaning more mana is spent. For the engravings, I pulled up a chart from the Korean community on what they use. Grudge is number 1, Curls Doll number 3. Both of those I wouldn't take because if you are a newer player and still unaware of the mechanics that will gradually become harder, you will start hating yourself. Keen Blunt Weapon, however, if you see me do a lot of crits in the showcase on the zero crit build, this one is a no-brainer to me. Combine that with the other no-brainer, that would be Pinnacle, because this is part of the crit rate increase that you get into your flurry mode. Now let's go over a few that you might want to think about. Mass increase is quite interesting because it lowers your attack speed, which means that it takes you longer for all of your animations and your rotation to complete, which means that if you have a pretty high cooldown, this is pretty much a counter to it. The downside, however, is you're locking yourself into animations and the chances of you getting hit are more likely. Raid Captain is an engraving that can be used both in your Chaos dungeons because the orbs grant you movement speed as well as your raids itself. If you have people that give you movement speed buff, obviously the 45% damage increase of your movement speed increase is pretty massive. Adrenaline, not a personal favorite of mine. It does increase the attack, it does increase some crit and probably almost to 100%, but as you've seen in the showcase, I don't think this is quite necessary. Few things that could take your consideration would be adrenaline. The reason why is because if you have 100% crit rate, you have 100% crit rate. That will be beautiful. You get some extra attack, which is nice. Then again, not a personal favorite of mine in this build. Ambush Master, however, seems more likely for people to use. Hits and back attacks do extra damage, you're done. Here's some tricks that you might be aware of already or do it subconsciously, but here's something that I found interesting. If I swap weapons and I hold my button, it doesn't come out. If I then hold my right mouse button and hold the skill, it will always come out. This might not seem as good as it is, but especially on the PvP side, knowing this small tech will allow you to never miss a timing on a button. Another tech that you need to be aware of is the moment you dash, you can actually change your weapon. This cannot be done during any other skills, unfortunately. But this is quite interesting on the PvP side, where if you want to do several of your skills into rapid succession to catch people, that would also be really good. Another neat trick would be the to cancel into a counter, and that would look like this. Now, the real question is whether you use this. Mainly you use this in PvP. However, you can also think about being into a boss fight where you think, oh, I want to squeeze in this last single hit. Am I going to use big animations like these, or would I just use this and be safe to counter whenever is necessary? And then the dumbest party trick that I have would be if you swap weapons while not holding the right mouse button, it looks like this on no cooldowns, but if you hold right mouse button, it looks like you turn Super Saiyan for absolutely no reason. With that being said, let's get into an Igrexion. So